Hi folks, my name is Steve and today we are taking a quick look at Clash of Galliformes, which is heading to Kickstarter I believe this week. So yeah, I just want to give you a brief look at the game, see if it's one you should be backing or one you should be skipping. So I've had a quick look through the rulebook, I've had a little bit of a playthrough. I'm going to give you my thoughts, give you a general overview of the game and see what you think. So I've got the game kind of partially set up just to give you an idea of what's going on, but essentially in this game we are taking on the role of tribes that have got access to these giant birds, right, that you're going to use to expand your territory, move around the board, claim various resources and tokens, and generally maraud across the map trying to take out your enemy tribes. And this is a resource management game at the heart of the game, right? You're going to be manipulating these tracks to gain resources, to upgrade your technologies, to upgrade your defensive capabilities, your attacking capabilities, to give yourself improvements and all this kind of thing. There's a combat system within it which I'll talk about a little bit, but let's kind of just go into breaking down the game into a little bit more detail. So the game's going to start off with let's get rid of that. So the game's going to start off with building up the modular board to start with. And like I say, I've already got this set up, but this modular board is built out by the players depending on player count, and it can be built up however you want. So if we've got other players in the game, potentially we could end up with something that looks a little bit like that. So I think this is quite a cool idea, just generally, that it's not a fixed board and it's going to be built out by the players, and so there's some strategy within that. And then we're going to seed the board, and we're going to seed it with these 1 to 9 tokens that you will see, and also some technologies, because we're going to, these are the things we're going to be gathering, and this is going to incentivize us to go around the board and collect the tokens that we need, right? That is the incentive to actually move out from your safe little home and your nest, which is, you know, located here, here and here for our different players. So throughout the game you're essentially, well, let's go through the turn order, right? You're going to move your birds, so you're going to take birds from one location, move them to another. You're going to gather and trade, so you're going to gather resources. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to put our outposts on these locations to get various resources, because that's going to improve our income. So we take a look at the player board here. Our income tracks along the bottom. We've got food, wood and stone, and obviously as these income tracks increase, they're going to give us more income from turn to more resources from turn to turn. So we might end up with something like this. Can't ever go above 10, and we're going to be using these resources for these upgrades. So you can see kind of the costs. These are various technologies that we may want to get, and also essentially we're going to be moving our cubes up these tracks to get better resources. So things like this triangular symbol here is defensive capabilities for our outposts, or our nest here. You know, we can add some defense there, and also then we've got shields for our birds, we've got swords for our attack values for our birds and things, but we're going to be manipulating these tracks through resource gathering. You'll notice these grey spots here as well, and also, before I get into that, it's worth pointing out that we've got 2 types of bird, right? We've got the basic kind of bird that we've got multiples of, I think, so 7 here. It tells us that we can have 7 of these smaller birds that have got an attack value of 2 and a defense of 3, and we can have just 4 of the larger birds, but they've got an attack value of 4. So that gives us some variability. Now these grey spots that I was just about to talk about, we also start with one. These are also added abilities that are going to improve our tribe and our birds in some way, and there's just a load of these, and they all do various things, you know, bonus attack, bonus movement, those kind of things, you know, the typical kind of thing you'd expect. But essentially we're doing all this to gain victory points, and we're doing all this to build out this little puzzle board here. So if you notice, we're trying to gather these different numbers to fill out this puzzle board, and that's because when we finish off a row, we can go up here and we can get a matching piece of our picture, which is what we're trying to build. So in this case, for the yellow player, he's looking to go and, hang on, He's looking to go and get his bird, move him down to this 3 so as he can collect this. And then in a future action in the develop and expand phase, he can build out this piece of the puzzle. And now he's looking for a 4, 6, 7 and 8 to try and finish this puzzle. And as the game goes on, he's going to collect these various numbers to fill out this board so that he can finish this picture, because this is one of the end game conditions, right? Once we've filled out this picture and got 2 technologies, we can decide to end the game. The game plays out over 50 turns, and I believe this is turns as opposed to rounds. I have seen some reviews online that kind of suggest that it's rounds. Excuse me. Which to me, a round would mean every player at the table getting a turn, and then this ticks over. If that is the case, that is a little bit ominous, because that feels like it could be a very long game. But I'm assuming by turn, they mean, you know, one player plays out their actions and then this ticks over. So then that 50 doesn't seem quite so bad. But essentially that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build out our little cave painting here. And this is also going to give us some bonus actions. And then potentially, if we think we're winning at that point, we can call for the end of the game. And obviously, you're going to get bonus points for more birds on the table. You're going to get bonus points for various things. You may have seen this golden egg that I'll talk about a little bit later. But that's how we're building our victory points, essentially. So, inevitably, you're going to be moving your birds into locations that contain enemy birds. And that is when we're going to go into combat. So as soon as you move into a location with enemy birds, we're going to trigger a combat. And the way that works is pretty simple, really. You're going to add up the attacking value of the attacker's birds, and you're going to compare that to the defensive value of the defensive birds. We're going to add in a dice roll, and then we also have these tokens here that we're going to start the game with 9. These are one shots, but they're things that we can add face down into a combat. So let's say this yellow player moves in here to this purple player. We're going to add up his attacking value. So he's got 1 big bird, which is 4, 2 small for another 4 in total, so giving him 8. And then this defensive player he's got no outpost there, but he's got his big bird, giving him 4 defense, and smaller bird for 3 defense, so he's got a defense of 7. And then we roll these dice. The attacker's got 1 extra attack, defender's got 0 extra attacks, but then we can flip these over. The attacker would have not picked a defensive tile, he would have picked an attacking tile, or not at all. You don't have to use these tiles, these are one shot. And then we add this to the total as well, and then whoever loses is going to remove their tokens or their pieces from the game. There are some ways to get your birds back, but essentially if your birds or your outposts are removed, they are out for the game. So you have to be somewhat careful, and it's quite nice having these extra ways to mitigate that. So generally speaking, guys, that is the game. Oh, I nearly forgot the golden egg. So this golden egg is going to be being passed around the table. You can get it by giving players numbers that you don't want, so pieces of the puzzle that you don't want, or technologies that you're not going to use, and you can gather this. And I believe from taking out an enemy nest or outposts, you can also get it. And whoever is holding the golden egg at the end of the game is going to get some bonus points. I think you get 9 bonus points, but I think that's quite a cool little mechanic, and I think, you know, most people are going to be chasing this around the board just to get hold of the golden egg, I think. So what do I think of the game, and who do I think it's going to appeal to? So I think there is combat in this game, so if you don't like combat, it's not going to be for you. If you don't like rolling dice, it's not going to be for you. An important part of this game is going to be taking out your enemy. Because we need these tokens, you know, if someone has a second 9, let's say, they're not going to put it on their board, but they are going to claim it. And that means if I need a 9 to fill out my board, I'm going to have to go and attack them, and then I can get that. So combat is going to be an important part of this game. There's some good asymmetry. So We can build out our birds in different ways. We also get a starting ability for each different species. And I believe, yeah, the species are different, so they all play it a little bit differently. So I think that's a nice added touch to the game. A little bit of asymmetry, a little bit of flexibility in how you build out your species as well is quite nice. And then, yeah, kind of solving this puzzle, I think, is going to be fun. You know, making sure you can get access to the tokens that you need. And then building out this puzzle, which I think looks quite nice, and I think the artwork and general style is good. I think speaking about the theme and artwork, like I like this theme, right? It's giant birds, what's not to like? But I do feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect generally between the game and the theme, in that the theme doesn't shine through quite as much as I would like. So obviously this is, you know, a TTS module for a game that has not gone to production yet. So there's, you know, I would expect some changes and some adjustments, but certainly these tiles that we're adding into combat are pretty dry, really. They're not that exciting. I get why they're there, you know, that they're adding a little bit of extra variability to combat, and they're increasing the decision tree for, you know, when are you going to play these, when are you going to hold on to them, when is, you know, what is an important combat, when do I really want to win this. So I get why they're there, but they're not very exciting to me, at least. And I think that an opportunity is definitely missed. So I hope they do something to at least tie this into the theme, right? Because yes, we've got swords and shields and our triangles for our nests, but I would rather this was more connected to the theme. Maybe have cards or something like that that we either draft at the beginning of the game that have got multiple uses. So something like similar to like Blood Rage, I think would have worked well with this game, where, you know, because we've already got a fair bit of setup. We've got a modular board. We're seeding the board with these tokens. Why not have a little draft phase where we're drafting these cards that, instead of just being a flat 1, 2 or 3 to attack and defense, maybe give us ways to do different things as well, just to give us more decisions and more interesting choices within the game. This felt uninspired, right? It feels like I want something more out of that. At least visually, I certainly want more, but I also think just from a gameplay point of view, I think they could have spiced up combat, or they could have spiced up the game a little bit more, and yeah, maybe look to something like Blood Rage for a little bit of inspiration there. That's my thoughts anyway. You may disagree, and I'm sure the designers know exactly what they're doing, so that's just my own personal opinion. And I think generally that kind of comes back a little bit in these numbered tokens. I like building out I like this idea of building out our puzzle, but the fact that our puzzle is just a collection of numbers 1 to 9 that I'm chasing around the board, again, just feels like a disconnect. You know, I want to feel like I'm marauding across the board on my giant birds, right? I've got my big bird meeples and things like that, but you know, if I'm in this position where I've got my 1 and 2, it's a bit of a thematic disconnect to be like, where am I going to get my 3 from? You know, where do I need that? Right, that's over here. Again, it just feels a little bit dry, and I think again, what I said before, you know, we're playing a game about giant birds. Let the theme come through at every opportunity. I'm not sure how that gets solved, but it for me at least, you know, it was a little bit dry in what I think is like a cool little game. I think there's some really good ideas. I think the artwork generally is good. I like the board. I like the variable setup of the board. I think that is probably one of the more interesting things about the game, that we're in turn order placing out this board. I like a modular board generally. I think, you know, when you're playing these kind of games, you know, you want a modular board. Helps with replay value, and it just adds that extra bit of a challenge and crunch early on. So I think there's some good ideas there. There's some things that are maybe don't quite resonate with me. So hopefully anyway, that's giving you a look at the game and an idea of whether it's for you. I'd highly recommend you go and check the Kickstarter anyway, have a look for yourself, make your own decisions. You know, there might be things that I've pointed out that you just don't agree with. That's absolutely fine. And you know, I've not played this game. I've had a look through the rule book, I've had a little play, I've had a little, you know, fiddle around with the game, but I'm going to want to play it myself as well. So it's definitely one to watch. I'm kind of excited to see where they take it and where it goes. Let me know what you think in the comment section. But other than that, guys, hope you have a good one. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye.